Welcome back, guys. This is podcast number 5. Chris, welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
We're on podcast 5, guys. I first off, I want to start out by saying I appreciate everybody for the listeners on the audio versions on Spotify and Apple and all that, and the video version is now on Chris's channel, and appreciate the views on that as well.
Yes.
But it's snowing out right now.
Yeah, we're getting ponded. We got like 5 inches out there, and
Yeah.
it's like raining out now. It's getting
hmm
ugly. Getting ugly.
Well, this past weekend I was busy. I was on the trail, consulting trail, and I actually got time to visit my own property for once. And I checked on the food plots and kind of came up with a plan for what I want to attack this year to help improve it, from the previous year, because that's what you do. You try to see the weaknesses in something, and then you try to tweak some things and try to make it better.
For sure.
So I got to check that out, and then I seen some clients, and I want to talk about a little bit on some of the constant negatives that I'm seeing from clients, that if they just switch that one thing or two things, it could really improve their hunting.
Now, is this something that they're doing wrong or something that they're lacking?
It's something that they're doing wrong, and it's
Okay,
it's a common theme throughout. It's not just this year, but it's been each consecutive years, and
gotcha.
it's just a very common situation that if they just eliminated it and did it differently, I mean, you would, whatever the percentage, they could improve their hunting by 50% just by doing this one thing. You have any idea what it is?
Um,
You just
I,
took a
I'm
you just took a deep breath there.
yeah. There could be so many answers to that.
Take a guess.
It could be It could be a plethora. It could be let's just name a few. The way they have their property set up,
Okay.
how they use their property.
hmm
They could be accessing it different ways,
hmm
or extracurricular activity on their properties, bugging the deer.
hmm
They could be in there setting up trail cameras in wrong areas.
hmm
You know, different type of things.
Okay. So the number one thing that I have seen is entry and exit routes
Okay,
to their tree stands while they're hunting.
gotcha.
For example, the piece this weekend was in Pennsylvania, and that's all I'm going to say is just Pennsylvania. And the property was about it was about 80 acres of woods, and I had maybe 20 acres of field, and it was long. It was long and narrow,
Okay.
and it was a ridge top that literally went all the way long ways across, and it just kind of dropped off on the sides. Well, they had stands, all throughout the property, and down the top, of this property, long ways on top of the ridge, there was a basically it was it was had some turns in it, but let's just say it was straight,
Okay.
and it had a straight logging road all the way through.
Okay.
Let's just say it was probably 100 yards wide, then it started dropping off, and there were stands all through here. There were some thick areas, then it went to thin. There were some thick areas, kind of went to thin, and you could see where the deer were bedding, and the property was really overtaken by honeysuckle, and it was really bad. One of the worst ones I've ever seen.
So do they access from the bottom of the hill and go up to the ridge to hunt?
No, they're accessing it long ways.
Okay.
So, for instance, if they had a stand all the way on the backside,
They
okay,
walk all the way
they
through.
walk all the way through to get to the backside.
Yeah, that could be a
And
problem.
instead of doing that, you need to be entering your stands from the sides.
Correct.
That way, and you're going in a straight line. I guess it'd be perpendicular to your stand, but it's less intrusive that way, because you're not. It's shorter. It's a shorter distance,
You're blowing
basically.
everything out on the way in.
Exactly. You're blowing everything out. That's just one example of how that property is set up. But other
Right.
properties is kind of you're walking through a bedding area to get to a tree stand, or you're walking through a food plot.
Hmm.
You're going to a food plot where you're bumping the deer out.
Hmm.
There's just so many different variables in there, but if hunters really, really paid attention to the enter and exit routes and put their stands in strategic, more better areas, they wouldn't have this situation. And like I said in the beginning, whatever the percentage it could increase it by 50% really of the sightings that they see.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, are they running electric bikes, ATVs, UTVs, anything like that on the property too?
Yeah, a lot of times I see that as well. And a lot of people, like, they have the land and they are using it kind of like, I guess, recreationally, basically, with riding four wheelers all spring and summer and into the fall. And I guess, people, you got to understand, people want to enjoy their land and all that, but
And to a certain point, they get used to that. But
you still got to stop.
yeah,
You got to let things settle down.
exactly. It's time to hunt.
Yeah, it's time to hunt, and they're just not doing it. So it's constant, putting pressure on the land, constantly pushing them off.
Yeah, and
And yep,
then they're wondering why the big boys aren't being daytimers.
yeah, you'll get the
You know,
does might stay there,
right?
but the bucks, they're not gonna handle it. And
They don't handle that pressure for
yeah,
sure.
they'll
For
just go
sure.
someplace
Hmm.
else, and
Yeah,
they may even come back at nighttime.
gotcha.
So
Yep.
that's pretty common. If people just took care of that situation, they would see a lot more deer.
Right.
Yeah.
How about are you seeing them like right on the edge of the openings, or are they back on a corridor, on a trail or something, or are they right on the edge where deer will come out and naturally look down that edge of that power line or whatever it would be,
Hmm.
and see that bump on the side of a tree?
Yeah.
Are they like trying to even tuck that stand back and have a backdrop?
Yeah.
Are
No,
you seeing that?
it's right on the edge on skinny trees with no tree in the back to for a backdrop, like you said. It's it's just you're sticking out like a sore thumb. And
Yeah.
it reminds me of the old Roger Ragland videos, which me and you have watched and laughed so hard at times.
Yeah.
Um, but it's like, where Roger would take a dummy and he'd
Yeah.
put it in that stand and staple it to the tree
Right.
because gets the deer accustomed to it.
Used to
Well,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So if you have a tree stand right on the edge that sticks out like a sore thumb, deer see that. But then all of
Mhm.
a sudden, one day, you're sitting in there, and it looks off-putting to them. That big boy's he's not going to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. I blame a lot of that stuff on television, or these
Hmm.
hunting shows and stuff. Because the some of the stuff that gets done seems so outlandish.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Well,
they're on television and they killed something, but 90 out of 100 times that process probably isn't going to work for the average guy.
yeah. Well, TV's not reality.
No, and
It's
they probably filmed 100 times to shoot that one deer.
yeah.
But
That they're hunting unpressured farms.
they're invited to a farm
Yeah,
where
inviting
a
to farm.
known deer
Yeah.
is feeding on a corn pile
Yep.
or something.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of that, because they gotta uphold their their obligations to sponsors and stuff. So they have
Yeah.
to they got to get to these spots where these bucks are, and
Mm.
there's a corn pile off to the left hand side, but they don't show it on camera.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it just. But you're probably right. People see that and think they can do the same thing on a Pennsylvania property that's hammered with hunting pressure,
Yeah, exactly.
and you can't do that.
Exactly. Hmm. Well, I had talked to you. I had mentioned to you about, in the past, I thought about extending my season a little bit,
Hmm.
since the tags situation in PA is a sore subject. I have a local farm in the area, and I was saying about maybe getting into red tag hunting.
Hmm.
And because I like to hunt the deer and give them away to folks like at church or somebody like a single mom or something like that. And I don't charge for it or anything, but I like to get a few extra tags and harvest a few deer. So anyhow, I was contacting a local farmer. I saw he actually is advertising. He actually was on Marketplace on Facebook and stuff, making ads saying, "Hey, I have red tags. Come hunt." So
So, I cut you off.
go ahead.
The property I was on this weekend, the client was telling me that it's not red tags anymore.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
He said green, I think he said.
Well, I don't know the color, but I
Okay.
will read you the response.
All right.
Okay. And forgive me for reading for the people at home, but um,
You can't.
this is
You're gonna be okay reading it.
yeah, I'll be fine.
All right. All right.
I should have my cheater glasses on, but if my arms look really long, that's because I'm having trouble.
The people listening to the audio right now. I wish you could see this.
So the guy, I actually answered one of his ads, and anyhow, I asked him how we go about this red tag thing.
Hmm.
I am totally oblivious to it. Some of you folks out there may know all about this, how to do this red tag hunting. I did not, so I just asked the guy straight up, "How does this work?" Well, he wrote me back. This is what he said. He says, "We put in our paperwork, and we are just waiting to hear back." He said they changed it from red tags, and now they give you a coupon that you take where you buy your hunting license. So any place you can purchase your license, you take this coupon in. He says that you have to pay to activate the coupon, and when you do that, you have to obey everything that the hunting permit tells you you can do. Which I didn't understand that part. There must be specific rules and
Hmm.
regulations to this. Okay, so he goes on to say, um, get those out of the way. He says, you have to be a Pennsylvania resident. So you're right, Dave.
Whatever.
Hunt your own state.
Uh huh.
Um, he says, you can only hunt antlerless deer, which I knew that.
Hmm.
He said, here's the dates, which I found odd. It runs from February 1st to April 1st. Well, I find it odd, but it makes sense. You're going to be killing 2 to 3 deer per deer you kill because they're going to
Hmm.
be pregnant does,
Hmm.
which I don't know if I have the heart to be doing that. But the other season, he says, then is in the fall, August 1st to September 15th. So that would fall under the new tag for 2023 in the future. Like this February 1st through the April would be last year's tag. So if I wanted to pursue this right now, tomorrow, I could probably go see the guy. He'd give me the coupon. I'd have to go somewhere where you
Hmm.
can purchase a license and pay for the tag. Okay. So then he goes on and says, um, you get the coupon, you pay for it. Um, and there's one per season, like I just said. So one would be for the past season, and the new one for the fall would be going on sale in June. The coupon is only to be used on the farm it is activated on, so it's specific to the property that you get it for. You must still tell us where you're going to hunt. You're not allowed to hunt unless we know about it, and you need to let the game commission know when you get a deer. Well, obviously you're gonna claim report the deer, um, where you got it, what time you got it, and all that jazz that they always want to know. And he says, and we would like to know when you're here. Um, of course, they don't want somebody there when they're not. And it says you are the only one allowed to use the coupon, so you can't mentor it. And what else does he say? And he reiterates it's only to be used on a farm that it's allocated for. And then
Hmm.
he left me his phone number and said if interested, give him a call.
Now,
I,
does PA have this plus crop damage permits?
what you have to have, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but my father-in-law was a farmer, so what I knew it to be In the
I'm a farmer.
past, pardon?
I'm a farmer.
Oh yeah, right.
You're a farmer too. We're just
Yeah,
farming for wildlife.
farming deer. But in the past, it had to be 50 contiguous acres.
Hmm.
You had to have 50 acres, and you had to be able to show financial damage. Okay, you had to make a salary. Show that you was using that as an income, and that you were losing. Uh, you was losing money from crop damage,
Hmm.
and then you was able to shoot as many as you really thought you needed to, as long as you called them when you were done, and they would come out and collect them.
Hmm.
Okay, and we did this one time. We what did I shoot? I shot 4 deer for him one night. We called up the warden. He came, got them, and he wanted them gutted and in the back of his truck. And we asked if we could keep them. He says, "Oh, well, I didn't know you wanted them." He says, "Well,
Hmm.
I can write you out a slip." And this is where the deer damage part comes in, and he can actually write you permit to keep however many he allows you to keep at that point.
Hmm.
And this guy actually let us keep 3 deer that night.
Hmm.
So, and it's one per person. So my father-in-law was able to have a slip. I was allowed to have a slip, and we called up a local guy that wanted a deer, and he come over to house and picked it up while the warden was there right in front of him. He gave him a slip too,
Hmm.
and that's pretty much how that worked. Now he said the fourth one I have to take in something. He said, so I went the fourth one in the truck, and he says I know a family that'll use it, so I'll take it to them.
So here in Maryland, I think, well, you can get crop damage permits starting October 1st or August 1st, and I don't think there's any limit on the amount of doe tags that you can get.
Okay,
So you can shoot unlimited does during that crop damage. I think, I'm pretty sure, and you can shoot them with a rifle.
right,
Um, and I know a lot of people that used to do it years ago. I just could never bring myself to do it because they're pregnant. Some
yeah,
could be pregnant, and um, it's 100 degrees outside. You're
right,
shooting. I mean, I just didn't really see a
yeah,
thing for it.
yeah. Now the only reason why I was thinking about doing that, like I said, was to be able to acquire an extra tag and maybe be able to donate it.
Hmm.
But the other instance was I thought if maybe um, I had somebody give me a pack of broadheads that they wanted me to try out or something, that I might use that as the proving grounds,
Hmm.
go over, whack a doe with it and document it and film it and, you know, get back to the person that gave it to me and say, hey,
Right.
this is what I did with your head. In
Hmm.
case anybody wants to send me some packs of heads, we'll,
And
we'll go shoot some deer with them. I'll film them.
instead of that, I should just recommend to you the best broadheads to shoot ever.
Oh boy.
You already know what they are.
Oh
Which ones
my.
do I shoot now? Come on.
I don't know. You tell me.
Swacker, man.
Oh gee, stem still.
Yeah. That's 10 years straight now. I love Swackers.
I don't I don't mind expandables. I use some expandables myself, but I'm a 3 blade expandable guy
Hmm. Yeah.
for sure. And I have my reasons, but that's a
Yeah.
whole nother debate.
Yeah. I think Swacker came out with a 3 blade a couple years ago, and they have a
Yeah, they
new
do.
one a new one this year. I can't remember what it looks like. It might be the hybrid,
Mm.
Swacker hybrid maybe, but I am getting a new bow this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, finally.
What do you think?
Um,
New Prime?
Probably a new prime. I've had that for the one I have now is like 8 years old. I I really enjoy it. I've shot a lot of deer with it, so I'll probably stick with that.
Mm,
I'm gonna get new arrows and I'll be all tuned up before opening day.
all tuned up.
Yeah. Now, when I started when I started hunting PA, the very first year, rifle season was on a Monday.
Yes.
Started on a Monday. I never understood that. It was kind of like PA is really, really stuck in like their, I guess, traditional type things,
Right. Right.
Now, and growing up, I always heard like, because I think you would probably know, but years ago, I was told that for opening day of rifle season, schools would close.
Yeah, I lived in Pittsburgh and schools was not closed. But
Okay.
where I live in the mountains now, they had, yes, they were given the first day off. It was like a holiday.
Right, right. That's what I was always told. And then when I
Yes,
started hunting PA, me and you started hunting the farm together. It started out on a Monday, and then I think a year or two later, it came back with this change, and they started
correct.
doing it on Saturdays.
Correct.
I personally liked it because that's what I was used to,
Right.
and where everybody, not every state's open on a Saturday, but majority of them, it's always that Saturday after Thanksgiving,
Yes.
and you don't have to lose a day of work, and it just that's what I was used to, so I enjoyed it. And
Okay.
then I think a year later, they started allowing you to hunt that Sunday. So because PA is only like one of a couple states where you can't hunt on Sundays.
I think I think one of 3 states,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. It's one of two or three states.
Yes.
But they changed that. So now the opener is on Saturday and you can hunt Sunday as well.
Mhm, mhm.
So what do you think about all that?
Well, I I'm gonna play devil's advocate, okay? I'm gonna give you both sides, and
Hmm.
I'll tell you what I like, the pros and the cons.
Hmm.
Okay. As you said, you being non-resident, you can leave
Yeah.
work
Broad
and
broad broadcast it more.
you can come up and hunt all Saturday and Sunday.
Hmm.
You have 2 days to hunt on that weekend.
Hmm.
You didn't have to take off any work.
Hmm.
Kids that are in school, like I was when I grew up in the city, I didn't get a day off school. So this gives people, residential people like that, urban people, if you will, they can go and they can hunt. And this is one of the reasons why they did it too, was to be able to incorporate more people and get more people involved in the hunting,
Hmm.
because PA is having a lack of young hunters right now.
That's
And that,
everywhere.
and that, yeah, it is everywhere. It is. I was just going to say it. That's everywhere. That's the techno age. These kids just want to sit around, play video games. They don't want to get
Hmm.
out and take a walk.
Nope.
So you've got the non-residents, children, and how about the guy that works 6 days a week?
Hmm.
Okay, he works Monday through Saturday, and he's not getting any time in the woods. So now they give him a Sunday to hunt, and he can do that.
Hmm.
Okay, now let's flip the coin. This is steeped in such tradition in PA, the Orange Army. Um, People are upset, dude. They are upset. They want their Monday back. And one of the biggest hits that have been taken over all this is the businesses in your localities, wherever your hunting camp is or wherever you go to hunt. Like, where I live, I'm in a tourist trap area. It's camps and state parks and state game lands and things, and people come here from all over. I mean, I see vehicles from Vermont, Jersey, Ohio, New York. The people just roll in here, and they have a camp or someplace that they go. Okay. Well, the local community was really, they said they were suffering when they did that, because in the old days, people used to come to camp after Thanksgiving. They'd show up on Black Friday. They would they would come up here and grocery shop Friday, Saturday, hang out at camp, have a fire, sit there with the boys, drink beer, whatever they do at camp, and Sunday all over, and then Monday they would all go out and hunt together, and
That's
they
tradition. That's tradition.
it's just a big tradition, and that really fed the local businesses though, because there was 2, 3, 4 days there of shopping. You know, Now we've got the Saturday opener, and the guys spend Thanksgiving with the family. They come up Friday night. They skip all that shopping in the area and spending money, and just go hunting Saturday, and the majority of them shoot their doe and turn around and go home.
Hmm.
You know, they're happy they got a deer, and good for it. I'm not against that, but those are the two sides that's happening right now, and they're butting heads. And there's just these huge protests out there right now to change it back to Monday. All these petitions that they're putting out, and people, they're trying to get people to get all these signatures and try to get with their state people and get this overturned. And I don't know if they're going to.
So I'm gonna throw a little twist in there with it, or just a theory or question really is you've been hunting longer than me. I've been hunting, I think this is my 26th season, and I've been around a lot of different camps and hunting clubs and things like that. And hunting, it's always been, you get with some buddies, they party all night long, drink and hoot and holler, and then they go hunting the next morning. Well, that's just kind of how it goes. Well, like in my mind, like what you just described, they come up after Thanksgiving, they party and do all this stuff, and then they go hunting Monday morning. So, like in my mind, it's going to maybe eliminate some of the partying and actually allow people maybe to become better hunters instead of just partying all weekend and just trying to go out when you're hungover with a rifle dangerously. So my question is, I'm wondering if, being that it's on a Saturday, if it does prevent the partying situation because people have to work.
Right.
They could still party Friday night or
Right.
Saturday night, but I'm wondering if there's going to be less hunting related accidents.
Good point.
Think
Good
about
point.
that. Is that
Now,
just is that crazy to think, or
well,
or
like you said, though, they don't have time to get all boozed up because they're with the family, and they come up, sleep it off, and go hunting the next day.
yeah,
You know,
because
uh, let me
yeah,
let me just say this though:
yep,
when there was the Monday start, here's the thing I didn't like about the Monday start. First of all, I'd have to take a 8 hours PTO. I'd have to take a day off work to get off just to go. But the other thing was all these knuckleheads would come to camp and shoot their guns all weekend long. They're tramping
hmm
through the woods, trying to hang a stand, putting a bullseye on the side of a tree and blasting at it, and
hmm or
burning through 2 boxes of shells because their scope's off from last year. And
yep.
it was that could be irritating.
That's
Or
what I was referring to, making people become better hunters because now it's going to make them prep,
yes,
get their stand out the week before and shoot their gun ahead of
right,
time
right.
and all that stuff. That's
No,
my way of looking at it.
they would tramp around, putting all that scent in the woods, spooking deer, shooting guns. I came up on a guy one night, one year. It was Sunday evening. It was getting dark, and I was usually what I would do is I'd hang my stand, and the night before season, I would go for a ride and just ride down the road and make sure nobody was near my where I enter and exit the woods yet.
Hmm.
I wanted to make sure nobody was messing with my deer, basically my spot. And I was rolling down the road and I see this car pulled off on the side of the road, and there's this dude in the ditch, laying in the ditch. I stopped him like, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm just shooting my gun in." I said, "Excuse me?" And like 50 yards away, he had this paper bullseye on a stump, and he's just shell after shell. I mean, he had a whole. He's like, "Do you know any place I can go buy some shells?" I'm like, "Are you serious? It's the night before
Hmm.
buck season, and you just blasted all your shells?" He's like, "Yeah, well, my scope was off." Well, I've got a whole video of how to sight in your scope if anybody's interested. Anyhow, so yeah, the dude's blasting, and he's like within 200 yards of my stand.
Hmm.
I wasn't happy,
And then
but
goes the next day and then wonders why you don't see nothing.
yeah, either he
Well,
doesn't see nothing or he misses a deer or something,
yeah. So when I
Even if he even saved any shells, I don't know. I
right.
got out of there. I was like, dude, it's getting dark. I'm boogieing.
Well,
You know.
story, I was 14 years old and I went hunting with a friend of mine back then and his father was a big drinker and they were drinking all night long and I was staying in this camper and we were there for I think early or late season muzzleloader and we got there. They were partying all night long, drinking. Woke up the next morning, and he was hungover, and he was outside, right? And me and my friend were standing there pretty close, and he had his muzzleloader, right? And he had it pointed kind of like the stock on his hip, and he had it pointed kind of off at a angle, and he's hung over and he's trying to load it and this and this and this. Next thing you know, boom, it goes off
Oh my.
and it went the people were like standing like over here but he was just like he you know what I mean, he was hung over and he screwed up.
Dumb.
So after that made me more cautious about being around people with guns, like people hold them sloppy and they're pointing them all around and
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
like hold up, like you need to not point that gun at me.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I don't know, that's just my way of looking at it.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see how that all goes. The game commission is going to be meeting here real soon again to finalize everything for this year. So if I hear anything, that'll be in future podcasts. I'll try to keep stuff up to date if I can.
Yeah. And then so me and Zach got a big job this weekend. We got a client hired us and we're gonna go cut some timber for him, clear out big cedar thicket. We got a skid steer come in
Mm,
and that we can talk about that next week on the podcast a little bit. And
okay.
I'll have some videos on that as well.
Okay.
So maybe we can get into that next week. And
Good deal.
so with that, we're gonna sign off, guys. I
Yep.
really appreciate your listens and the views
Yep.
and listen again on Apple, Spotify, and actually, if you guys wherever you guys are listening from, drop us a comment because you can leave reviews and stuff on like Spotify and Apple. Let us know what state you're in and how you enjoyed the podcast because
Right.
that'll really help us out.
Yep. And if you want to watch the podcast, come on over to my channel, City Sticker Chris,
Hmm.
and don't forget to subscribe.